I've known Drew Dixon for decades. She's a former vice president of AR at Arista Records. She pursued opportunity moonlighting as a writer, producer, and actress in independent films in New York and Los Angeles. Recently, she conceived and co-starred in Vivian, a short film written, produced, and directed by Aimee Dixon, her older sister. Vivian offers lighthearted, imaginative personifications of a most unexpected topic, a woman's monthly cycle, and has won awards and critical acclaim on the festival circuit. 2002, she left Arista to attend the M.B.A. program at Harvard School. She's a mom. She's awesome. She's a good friend. And gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. So she's kind-hearted, she's funny, and that is why I invited Drew to be one of my guests, just to inspire women, the Me Too movement, her bravery, her courage to just think about other younger generations. So she's always out there helping women and young girls. Hey, welcome to Esther Yang and Friends, and thank you for being here. And we have Drew Dixon, who is like anything else, a phenomenal mother, phenomenal artist, managed artist, just a whole big brouhaha. It's awesome. So Drew, what have you been up to now? I have not seen you since Grace now is 23.
Wow.
She was born 1999. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
I mean, I was.
So it's been about 20 years. It's
Over
been about 20 years. Yeah. I mean, I think the last time I saw you was in 2002 when I left the music industry and went to business
Yeah,
school.
but that's 2002. So I've known you 1999, probably since 1998 or 1996,
I think so.
something like that.
Maybe 97, 98. Yeah, we've known each other
that's
a long time.
That's crazy. I always think that's so crazy.
I
That I've known you for a long time. So what have you been up to now
Yes.
since I last saw you?
Well, first of all, my apologies for like the beach hair and the setting.
I love beach hair.
I'm just finishing up a wonderful trip with friends, and our house ended this morning, so I'm hanging out and trying to enjoy the summer to the best of my ability with my daughter, who's 18, and my
Incredible.
son, who is 16.
That's even incredible. I remember going to your apartment, just you and you, you know?
Yeah.
Now you have 2 kids.
Well, Esther, I want to start by thanking you. Also, during my kidney cancer diagnosis when I was 29, you held my hand through that. You guided me through that. You gave me so much support and really life-saving counsel. So I'm here today, 23 years later, 20 plus years later, I guess 23 years later. My kidney cancer surgery was in April 2000. So 23 years later.
Yeah, so we've known each other almost over a quarter of a century.
Over a quarter century. And I'm here now. I'm a mother. I produced a lot of, records. I was an A&R executive. I helped discover a lot of songs. And I'm a mother of 2. And in 2017, I became a Me Too activist. Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't start out as a Me Too activist. I started out with fear and trembling, just saying Me Too in the New York Times in December 2017. And I didn't even really want to do it. I only did it because other women came forward about Russell Simmons and he called them liars. And based on my experience, not even knowing these women, I knew that what they were saying was very possible because it was exactly what had happened to me. So I came forward in the Me Too movement, and I was really sort of trying to say my truth and move on get back to my life. And it really changed my life. It turned my life upside down. And then I became the subject of a documentary that Oprah Winfrey was the executive producer of until she suddenly wasn't, which further upended my life. But it also forced me to stand on my own 2 feet as a survivor and speak for myself. And that's really how I sort of went from being just a Me Too person to a Me Too activist. And I joined a coalition of other incredible survivors like Evelyn Yang and Allison
I love
Turcos and helping to
Evelyn.
get the Adult Survivors Act passed. So,
I
yeah,
know. Senator Brett Holman is great. I have to, he's coming up
yes,
soon. He doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be coming to talk about the Sexual Survivors Act and that, the Adult Sexual Survivors Act. And then, I mean, for your cause, I think that's incredible. Not only that you experience it, right? Of course, your experience benefit other people. You spoke up, and you spoke up, and you're being shamed for speaking up.
I spoke
So,
up really just to sort of, I felt that if I didn't speak up, I would sort of become an accessory after the fact to this crime. I was sort of,
right.
I would become an enabler of the cover up. Like, one
Right.
analogy, it's like cleaning up Russell Simmons' crime scene. If I didn't, speak out as a witness to something really almost identical that had happened to me, you
Right.
know, that's really all I wanted to do. But it did set me free. I mean, it set me free. It made it possible for me to heal. It made it possible for me to integrate the part of myself that I was ashamed of, that was this victim, into the part of myself that was sort of pretending to be okay. But it
Hmm.
also kind of broke me back down. I had to kind of go backwards a little bit and process the shame and the pain of what I'd been through. But then eventually I came full circle, and now I'm taking my voice and my story and my experience and trying to use it to set others free and to help others heal, and so that other survivors know they're not alone and it's not their fault, and there is light at the end of the tunnel on the other side of this process.
My favorite sentence is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but it's not a train. It's not an incoming train. So
That's
that
exactly right.
yeah, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna survive this. You survived it already, and that everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be start having friends to support you in this struggle. And because when you were in the music industry, you were way up there, considering like you were young, you were female. You've always been attractive. So, but just because I think we women need to understand that just because we're attractive, it's not an open door policy where you can just start being attacked.
I
You know?
really sort of always saw myself as somebody who was smart and talented and hardworking, and I wanted to be known for that. And what
Yes.
was so frustrating is that no matter how hard I worked, no matter how successful I was, no matter how good my instincts were about records, like I had the idea for Mary J. Blige and Method Man to make a song called "You're All I Need to Get By" that became an iconic Grammy-winning record. I mean, I could go on and on. I found "My Love Is Your Love." I didn't find it. I was given "My Love Is Your Love" by my friend Wyclef, who played it for me, and I gave it to Clive Davis, who gave it to Whitney Houston. Wyclef gave me Maria Maria, another song that Carlos Santana recorded and won a Grammy. My friend Lauren Hill gave me "A Rose Is Still a Rose" to play for Clive Davis,
Hmm.
which Aretha Franklin recorded. And so I kept thinking, surely these men will stop seeing me as a sexual object given how successful I am at the
Hmm.
work that I do. And
And how
I
talented you
thought they
are.
would see me as a peer.
Hmm.
Right. And I just thought, well, there's so many other beautiful women that are happy to be with these men, and more
Hmm.
power to them. I'm just not one of them. And so they can go be with those women and leave me alone and just interact with me as a peer. And for two men in the business, unfortunately, they just weren't able to do that. And that was heartbreaking to me because I just couldn't understand it, and I was much younger. I was in my 20s. I didn't understand, toxic rape culture. I didn't understand how that worked. And I just thought if I kept trying and trying harder and harder, they would see me as a peer. And it just never really, in the case of these two men in particular, it just didn't, happen that way.
Yeah, I think
Sorry.
it's I mostly it's because one, you were young. Two, there were no other people that can support you in these difficult situations. Even though you and I've been
Oh,
forever known each other,
you
and I think
supported me,
right,
but you
and it's
were right, supporting me behind the scenes, like in the industry itself. I was kind of in the lion's den fighting,
right,
alone, really.
right. And your
Yeah.
talent is incredible because like you've worked with all these artists and helping it, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate that your look and the way you are and your innocence, I think that's what it is, because you were
Mm.
young, your innocence were, they were vultures. They were just coming at you, and that's an unfortunate situation. It's a sad
Yeah.
situation. It's an unfortunate situation, and I'm so glad that
Mm.
you are working on this, becoming an advocate for the Me Too movement.
Yeah.
And how is that? Is that
Yeah.
stressful working with for the Me Too movement?
It really depends on who you work with and sort of, so one of the reasons I joined the Adult Survivors Act effort is because the people who invited me in particular the woman, Allison Turco, on Twitter because we've been very negative experiences with Time's Up. And we were both
Mhm.
calling Time's Up out on Twitter after they were exposed in compromising the women who came forward about harassment by Governor Cuomo. And so when they were sort of when their sort of experience with Time's Up was exposed, I started tweeting about my negative experience with Time's Up, which was really involved in trying to sort of help Oprah exit the documentary. But there's a lot more that went on behind the scenes that was very, very toxic. And so I was talking about Time's Up based on my personal sort of lived experience as a survivor who'd gotten tangled in their web. And this other woman, Allison Turcos, had a negative experience with Time's Up. So we met on Twitter. And then we finally
Mhm.
DM'd each other and said, wait, who are you? And I was like, well, this was my experience. Who are you? And she was like, well, this was my experience. She unfortunately was assaulted by a Lyft driver. She was actually, trigger warning, like gang raped by a Lyft driver and several other men.
Mhm.
Um, and we ultimately met for a coffee, and she was on her way to an Adult Survivors Act press conference. And I didn't even know what it was. I went with
Mhm.
her. She kind of explained what it was on the way. I ended up speaking, and that's how I joined the movement. And that's why I met Evelyn Yang. And then we
Yeah,
went out
Evelyn,
after and had coffee. And
I
so
know.
it's,
Evelyn
and
called
now
me
Evelyn's
and
one of
said,
my dear
"Hey,"
friends.
I know. Evelyn called me and said, "Hey, we know mutual friend. You owe her a phone call." And I
Yes.
said, "Oh my God, Drew,
I've been
it's great."
telling her when I realized she knew you, I was like, Esther is amazing. Your spirit and your energy and your wisdom just helped me, even though the industry was so hard and it didn't make it possible for me to survive in the industry. You made it possible for me to survive in my own life and to get through my kidney cancer diagnosis. And so it made sense when I realized you guys know each other. I'm like, yes, of course, that makes sense. Good people.
She's good people, and I think that's why I want to create the podcast. It's just to
Yeah.
encourage people to be good people, right? To
Yes.
uh, to share our experience and being able to tell, like for example, your daughter coming, saying like, "Hey, don't fall into this pit hole."
And my son,
When this
like,
happens, this is
right.
what you can do, and we want to be able to raise these women to be awesome, and we want to be able to raise the boys
That's
to
right.
and the men to be respectful and to be
Exactly.
kind, and not every male or female are sex objects.
Not
That
at
that
all.
you were born with certain beauty, and that you think that people will respect that instead of taking advantage of that, instead of grooming you to be somebody and
Right.
then take advantage of you. Totally different. So
Yeah.
I think,
Totally different.
like now in the podcast, like I mean, my vision is to be able to for you and for everybody else to share the experience and benefiting
Yeah.
other people and making this world better and creating our own good army. Because as you know,
Yes.
you've been shamed that there's something wrong with you, that you should not be saying all these things. You're not even going to the Adult Survivors Act. You should not be doing any of that. But I think you should,
Yeah.
because
Thank
healing is
you.
about speaking up.
It's
Like
about
healing
speaking
begins
up.
when you speak up,
Yeah.
and also healing begins when you have other people that said, Drew, I was there, like when you were
Yes.
out, when you were struggling all these things. That's why I reached out to you back and said, hey, Drew,
Yes.
I remember what you told
You were
me.
there.
I
You were
was there.
there.
And
You were
and
there.
so I
Thank
know
you.
for me to just tell you that it's an affirmations for you, just
Mm.
saying that, hey, somebody was there. So I'm not crazy. This is not just
Yes.
I'm all alone. And
You
I think
saw me struggling like week after week. And, thanks to you, I had a safe place and a safe person to talk about it with. And, one thing that I say, I actually saw this on the internet. I can't take credit for it, but sexual abuse is like moss, it grows in the dark. And it's
Yeah,
counting on us to be so humiliated and so embarrassed and so ashamed by what somebody else did to us that we don't talk about it. And if we don't talk about it, we enable abusers to continue to move around and maneuver and groom and harm other people. And so
right.
just by having these conversations and just by saying it out loud, we open a door that sucks the oxygen out of their power and gives the power back to us, the good guys, to sort of
Right.
protect each other and be safe and to understand what's happening to us. Because that's
And
part of it.
also,
It's the gaslighting. Right.
yes, and also zero tolerance, right? No
Zero
gaslighting, no
tolerance.
zero
Yeah,
and zero tolerance, and just like saying, hey, we want the next generations not to grow up like us. We want them to
exactly.
be protected. We're fighting not just for us, we're fighting for them. For your
Breaking the
daughter, for your
cycle.
son. No reason to be grooming anybody because you've done that. You groom me, you screw me up, but now we want to change.
We want to
Right?
change. We want to break the cycle so that people can just live in the world and be free and be their best selves and consent in relationships where they choose to do that and be left alone in all of the other spaces in their lives. That's
Yeah,
really it.
I know. My good friend Joyce is doing on consent. Like she
Yes,
just trying to make it to federal because like you have to give consent. You have to be clean and sober to be able to give consent. Not just like, well, that's what she said or she didn't say, so it doesn't matter. But
exactly. I'm
I am
so
proud of
grateful
you
for the
for
work
fighting the
Joyce is doing.
cause.
Yeah.
I'm really incredibly
Thank you,
proud of you
Esther.
to fighting for your
Oh,
daughter, for all of us. And it's so good to see you. And it's so
it's
nice
so
to
good to see
see you
you
like, oh my God, I've
too.
known you for over 20 something years already.
25 years. Yeah, I think it's 25. I think we started in
Yeah,
97, 98. So that's 25 years.
that is incredible. That is so great. And it's so nice to see you blossom and keep blossoming. So I'm there for you. Whatever you need, I'm there.
Thank you for all you do. And thank you for all you did for me personally. And thank you for evolving and just helping the community and the society in general just heal and be
Anyway,
better and thrive. You're really
you go have
wonderful.
fun with your kids. I know you're packing away. Have fun with your kids. I love you. I'll catch up with you later and talk to you later.
Love you too. Okay, bye.
Bye.